Well, good morning, everyone. It is 8:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Mary Darling. I am the host of this meeting today. I'm thrilled. Both Dr. Chan and I are so happy that you've joined us this morning. I'm going to introduce Dr. Chan in a moment. I will be facilitating any questions that you might have. If there's anything in the chat, if you're having trouble hearing us, anything like that, go ahead and put something in the chat and I will respond to you so that Dr. Chan can be talking about the content that I'm assuming we all want to get into right away. So again, welcome to this beautiful morning. And it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Chan. He is the Dean of the Gainey School of Business. He came to Spring Arbor University, at the time it was Spring Arbor College, in 1993. His plan was that his young family would stay for 2 years. And if you do math, you know that's not what happened. So that quickly turned into almost 20. And he is the dean of the Gainey School of Business, and he also has teaching roles in the school. If you know Dr. Chan, you know he enjoys what he does, and he feels like God has prepared him for what he is doing today from way back. He first came to the US in 1985 to finish his undergrad and then continued to study for his PhD in 1987 prior to coming to Spring Arbor University. He's married to Koch, who is also from Hong Kong. They have 2 grown sons. It's been our privilege to live near them, and our sons know each other. His younger son is getting married in June. His older son is currently teaching high school in Indonesia. Dr. Chan is just a great man of God, a great teacher. And I'm excited to hear what he has to share with us today about best practices of good to great Christian-owned companies and their kingdom impact. So let's give a virtual hand to Dr. Chan.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. And 1993, I'm sure that it's a special year to you as well. Michael Darling was born that year, and so was Chester Cliff, my oldest son. And they started the preschool and kindergarten together, to my recollection. So
Yes.
This is very well part of the fond memory. And also as I'm thinking why I'm still here, and always it's the people, and it's not the building, it's not the food at BC. And I'm sure that many of you that can relate to that. If there's one thing that we hold on to, say the relationships that we experience at Spring Arbor, and being Asians coming from Hong Kong and spending 8 years in school. Well, really, when we first came, we thought that we would be either heading out somewhere in the United States or heading back to Hong Kong. But God had a different plan, and the greener pasture that we were looking for is right under my foot. So with that said, I'm going to switch gear and get to the presentation. And well, if you want to show your video, that would be great, because as instructors, we always want to see our students, your body language, your feedback, your smile, and the encouragement would be wonderful, but it's not a requirement. And we do get paid by the number of students who attend or the number of questions that they raise. So the more the merrier, and wow, everything. I'm joking wise. I'm going to go to my PowerPoint, which is
Dr. Chan, it's not letting me record. So if you could press record, that would be great.
Yeah, it's being recorded. Yeah, it's recording.
Great. Okay, now I see it. All right.
Yeah. So it's good to see some comments, and I'm humbled to have fellow faculty and deans and in this session. If you were Dr. Wolver, and who spoke at chapel the other day, and then Dr. White came over yesterday to his office, and of course, Dr. Wolver said, thank you, Dr. White, for coming. And he also jokingly said, well, I saw that you have an evaluation sheet scoring me. So I think well, some of my colleagues might be thinking, okay, well, I want to see how Caleb is doing. So if you want to send me your evaluation sheet afterwards, that would be great too. Well, I think about jokes. So let's get started on this presentation. Well, this topic that I've chosen, well, the theme is liturgy and practice. So that I picked the second part, which is the practice, and the third, I think there's a liturgical part of that, even though these companies that we're going to be talking about don't necessarily have a formal worship, a formal service daily, but the practice within the business is liturgical in some sense. And the practice makes them great, may not be by the world's standard, but by the standard that God has through the scriptures. So I also want to acknowledge all the students, but I want to commend you to here early, and also to tell my students what the early birds get the worms. So maybe you'll get some worms today after the session. Thank you, Mary, for the hosting, and I want to also acknowledge Google Images for letting me steal the beautiful, beautiful images. Otherwise, I would have to give the black and white presentation. All right. Well, the plan is to spend about 30 minutes on on my part, and then have maybe the 8 minutes breakout session. And I'll share with you what we're going to process during the breakout session, so that you can take some mental notes as we go on to the presentation. And then when we come back, what I want some groups to share their findings, and then I'll bring our session to the closure while talking about takeaways and some conclusions, and also then open up for the questions and comments, and do a quick infomercial of the workshops that are going to be coming up next. So the breakout session, I want us to think about 3 things. One is which of the business leaders of these companies do you admire most, and why? And 2 is identify one takeaway from these examples of best practices, which may be liturgical, which may be the business practices, but behind these practices, there are Christian approaches, theology. And 3 is if you're not owning a business, how can you apply these principles in your future ways and still make a kingdom difference? So with that said, 2 books that are the foundation of my presentation. One is Good to Great, authored by Jim Collins, and this image says 3 million copies sold, and the copy that I have, which is 1 million, and the other copy says 600,000. And over the years, this is one of the best sellers, and Jim Collins had worked with a team of 20 researchers, primarily the doctoral graduate students, and conducted research to compare companies that went from good to great. In fact, he often would say, good is the enemy of great. And the other copy, the other book is the titles the Christian-owned companies that came out in 2019 by a Christian faculty author, Michael Ciccarelli. He talked about the 50 different Christian-owned companies and 100 best practices. And the main question is what does it look like when a follower of Christ runs a business? Do they do the same all? Do they compartmentalize? And sometimes we say, you can be a Christian on Sunday, but from Monday to Saturday, you put on a different coat. You hang your faith in the closet. Do they do that, or there might be they really very serious about the faith. So I want to start off by asking you to see if you recognize these names. So if you do, well, maybe shout it out. Does anybody know any of these people? Are you not old enough to recognize these names? Jim, you seem to recognize a couple, maybe. We can. Yeah,
I'm not hearing Jim. Yeah.
Phil Vischer, he founded Big Ideas.
Yeah, the Phil Vischer, and in the 1990s, and the Big Idea, and is the Veggie Tales, and the production series. Great.
How about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very good now. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Monahan, of course, from Domino's. So.
Okay, Tom Monahan.
And originally, did you know he was actually at a boys' home in Jackson in his early
Jackson, days? I didn't know that. And yeah. He was an orphan at the age of 4. And well, the Jim, you graduated from the Eastern Michigan, and it's where the first Domino pizza was located, and it became a franchise for 5,000 franchisees, delivering the pizzas all over the world. Yeah, that's great. In names. What about Edgar A. Knight? You probably don't see that name often in that fashion. You might see A. Allen. Well, you might see E. Allen Knight. So I just throw in just for fun. So that if you don't know the other name, at least you know. Oh yeah, Dr. Knight. What about? Well, I'm to the butcher his name. Maywin Suket. Does anybody know? And today we're celebrating him. That's the kill. It's St. Patrick's original name. But all other names, well, they are associated with the Christian-owned companies that we're talking about today. David Green, of course, what is Hobby Lobby. Stuart Taffy is Chick-fil-A. Blake Mycoskie, some of you might be wearing a pair of shoes that his company made. Tom's Shoes founder. His name is not Tom. It's actually Blake. And Tom, we talked about, and Marion E. Wade is the founder of Surface Master. Way back in 1929, I believe. He was a former professional baseball player. And Chris Gurney and John Sage, the founder of Pura Vida Coffee. So maybe this slide would make more sense. And when you see these icons and also the companies that we are familiar with. So without further delay, we're going to get into the meat of the presentation. And so the 7 or 8 things that separate what these companies from just an ordinary company. They're summarized in this slide. And oftentimes here the companies talk about the profit. Oh, then you might comment, okay, well, that's why the business has a bad reputation. They're always going after profit. And then you hear about companies addressing the triple bottom line, which includes people and planet in addition to profit. So those companies are socially responsible, and they also separate themselves from the majority of companies that are only concerned about profits. Like Christian-owned companies, they focus on purpose, the product, and they have a plan for addressing poverty, and also they stand firm on the principles, and also using the business as a platform to introduce people to God. So we'll go into each of these 8 aspects, and we'll share with you some companies. Oops. Not sure what's happening. if you're still there, then on my
Yeah,
end, I have
I
lost
don't
my
know either.
I've lost my computer. But
Hmm.
let me quickly get back. It might be the power thing. Well, I'm glad you're there. Screen sharing has stopped because the external display is disconnected. Ooh, that's not good. But are you able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Still? Okay. Oh, awesome. So going back to share screen and record you're doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay.
There we go.
And then also the part two of the presentation would be the looking at these companies through a different set of lenses. Is the good to great principles. And Jim Collins, what the book talks about how these companies started out with having disciplined people from the top, and then also the bringing the right kind of people to their team, and then having the disciplined thought, which is what the accepting the brutal realities. But also the breakthrough starts when they are being laser focused. So that's the hedgehog concept. And then they don't just stop there, but what that be the developing, encouraging a culture of discipline. So having a clear mission statement is one thing, but sticking to that is another. And telling people that yeah, we love to hear your opinions, your comments, your thoughts is one thing. Putting into practice is another. That you are not thinking, wow, Jim, how dare you say something to me like that? I'm your boss. I'm his boss in some sense because what Jim taught for us, teaches for us. But are you really welcoming ideas and what's the role of technology? Do we apply technology for the sake of technology? So that well, we'll look at these companies and from this set of lenses before we bring the presentation to a close. So the next slide, if I can move my slide. There we go. Okay, we'll start off with the first one. It's the purpose. That this company is what they seek to honor God in all they do. So two examples. One is what the Hobby Lobby and the first principle businesses. We are committed to honoring the Lord in all we do by operating the company in a manner consistent with the biblical principles. This is what the very clear to the company, and those who work for the company knows what know this is a key business principle. So they're not going to to depart from this for the first principle. And Chick-fil-A, I sense about a lot of us, including myself, enjoys the Chick-fil-A sandwich or maybe the nuggets, but to them, they say to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us and to have positive influence on all who in contact with the company, the restaurant. And between these two businesses, they have decided to close on Sundays, which is very unique and is a bold tactic. Well, it might not be the right word, a bold decision. Right? Let's settle on that word. Because they can lose a lot of sales by not opening. Say 1 day a week, more than 50 days a week, they close. Almost like 2 months of a year, they don't generate revenue because of their decision to honor God. And it's the Lord's Day, and they want to allow their employees to go spend time with family, go to church. But it can hurt the bottom line. But they still decided to do that. Well, the second part is what they make great products, and that would make a better world. And you may recognize some of this, what images, what the big idea, what they provide, what the quality. valued space for the entertainment, especially for children. I know my boys, but they grew up with the VeggieTales, Tomato, and some of those for the songs are still running in my head. And this, but you might say, what does the Guinness company have to do with say my presentation in a Christian college that doesn't allow beer. Guinness is a beer brewing company, but it's in the 18th century when the water is not as drinkable, was not drinkable, and in fact, what people were killed because of having water that have been damaged because of the sewage system. So back in those days, what the Arthur Guinness introduced this product as a health food. So think about going to a health supplies, health food store, and you're doing it intentionally because it's helping you. And then the other companies, the Light Design, they have decided to provide a brighter future for millions of people by offering them a solar-powered LED light. There's also the serving as fans, and also it has a built-in USB charger for $5, and it lasts potentially it lasts forever, but they guarantee for 5 years. There's a 5-year warranty. So the people behind these companies, they intentionally want to bring a product to the marketplace, not to bring profit to themselves, but to make a better world, whether it's a health product or might be a device that would actually save a lot of lives too, because in a lot of the developing countries where they don't have access to the power grid, they use kerosene as fuel for their for the lights in the darkness and at night, and but having the solar powered light that they can use after dark has made a huge difference. And of course, Phil Vischer has brought a lot of laughter to the kids and their parents, and appreciate that. Even though the end of the story wasn't that great, and as we'll talk about it later on. So the third one is profit, or the profit is a good word. Because if a company does not make profit, they're not able to pay the bills. Employees, suppliers, vendors, and also a lot of companies decide to give away their profits. May not be 100%, but maybe they start with 10%, 15, 20. And these three companies, they fund Faithful Courses, and I'm sure you recognize Tom's Shoes, One for One. And if I ask for show of hands, we probably have quite a few of the audience that have at least purchased a pair of Tom's shoes because of the mission, because of the vision of the founder wanting to give one pair to someone through your generous purchases. And typically these shoes are more expensive because the other pair would go to someone who have a need. And the story that started like that is Nakoski, who is a serial entrepreneur, and he actually was in Argentina for a polo camp, and it's an expensive sport. But he also overheard a conversation between two women, and they were collecting the shoes from the wealthy neighborhoods and distributed them to the poor neighborhoods. That's how the idea of Tom's Shoes was birthed. You probably did not know why it's called Tom's, and it's not even his name. or middle name or whatnot. Well, he started with the idea what is named the Tomorrow's Shoes, but he could not fit the whole name into the label, so he has to shorten it to Tom's. And in the first year, for the first 3 years, even the company did not make any money, but they honor the mission of buy one, get one, not for the one who purchased. It's nice to buy one, get one free, but what the second pair would go to someone in a third world country. And even though they were not making money the first year, second year, third year, well, they honor what they said they would do, and they gave out 10,000 pairs the first year. And then, but at the time of his selling half of his company to the Bain Capital, it's worth over 500 million. I think $625 million. So there's a lot of pairs of shoes, and a lot of good was done. And in fact, what it provides a model for many other entrepreneurs and philanthropists to follow his footprint. Now, Pura Vida, well, great coffee, great cause, and it was founded by the two friends of one another who graduated from the Harvard Business School, who are crazy about coffee. But after graduation, one, Sean Sage, went to the work for Microsoft, Seattle, Washington area, and the other is Chris Durnley. He became a missionary, planting churches in Costa Rica. And a couple of years later, after they met up with one another, and it was Chris who brought something to John as a souvenir, and he has a bag of coffee. This is not exactly the same coffee beans, but I happen to have one, and it's one of the products that one of the three Memphis churches had. I think it's also from Costa Rica, but well, that's how they started first. Started having the idea of might be the Costa Rica coffee can be sold online through the internet, and the proceeds would go and fund, say, the churches, and especially addressing the social issues in many of the third world countries, developing countries, like malnutrition. It might be the substandard housing. It might be the drug abuse, all kinds of issues. Well, Chris, as a missionary, had seen and experienced a lot. So Pura Vida, and again, the first year, John did not leave his comforts of Microsoft. He provided funding to the business, but after a year, he quit his job and devoted his time 100% to the business, because it was growing. In fact, it's not just someone like to support, say, this company because you are funding faithful courses, but because of the quality of the product. In fact, the U.S. House of Representatives have given the exclusive right to the Pura Vida to serve their coffee, and that speaks for itself. And the third company is Tom Monahan's Domino's Pizza, and well, at the time when he sold his business, it's worth $1 billion. It's probably more than $1 billion, but it sold for $1 billion. But Tom's example is phenomenal, but it's not. It did not happen until he read C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity book, and then he is almost like looking into the mirror, and he saw himself being someone. His pride is so big. He said something to the effect of I've never met anybody whose pride is as big as mine. Well, he made lots of money, and he did not deny himself of anything. Anything you can think of, he had it. Big house, cars. He has hundreds of classic cars, and he even used some of the changes to buy Detroit Tigers for $53 million. As a billionaire, $53 million is nothing. But he did all of this because what he thought was, yeah, I deserve all these things. I work hard, and I'm going to live a good life. But that reading of Mere Christianity changed him 180%. And he decided to sell his business. He decided to give his money to support not just charities, but he found a Catholic university and many other things that he did. Well, had he not made such a large amount of money, those things wouldn't happen. But God has a hold of his heart, if you will. Well, I'm spending a lot of time on some of these companies, but in the next few slides, I just want to focus on what they do. So the next one is what the people, they treat their employees like family. And Heinz, we use the ketchup, but the first product is not ketchup, it's horseradish. It's a brilliant light in some of the darkest times of industrial revolution, when a lot of the peer companies, their products, they could kill someone because they are not of high quality, and the factory environment was not of the highest standards. In fact, many times, people with dirty hands will go to work, and think about what goes into the bottle. If I did not wash my hands this morning and I put ketchup in this bottle, and then it goes to Mary, and Mary will say, "Oh wow, no way." Well, Mary Kay is a household name, and she prays people to success, especially women employees. And she saw the potential of them, and she's one of them. And Tyson Foods, they sell chickens, but also that they provide chaplains caring for the employees. Regarding the poverty plan, and we have got a few examples. They create jobs for people, which provide a sustainable solution, rather than giving what we call a handout to someone who lives in poverty, but they create jobs for them. And the Keystone Custom Homes that elevate poverty through the microfinance program, or Sunshine Nut that transform society by creating jobs, and also the Hershey's. And when it was started, it was very different from what it is today. And I'm looking at the Mary Hershey's is not a good company when it comes to the fair trade chocolate. But when it was started, especially during the Great Recession or Depression in 1929, and the company, instead of cutting jobs so as to stay afloat, they actually provide jobs by redirecting the people to do other things. It's like instead of furloughing people, you create new projects, new businesses. So that's how they address poverty. Planet Protection, 3 companies. The Herman Miller is a business that has a responsibility to care for the environment from day one. And this is ingrained in their business mission, is part of their DNA. And the second one is about the UBI. What is UBI? It's out of, let's see, UBI stands for out of Bible experience. So UBI for short. And if you go to the Chick-fil-A, you may not be able to tell right away, but next time observe that all of the uniforms were made by UBI out of plastic bottles. So what do I do with this bottle? I throw it away, or I recycle sometimes, but can we upcycle, turn these materials that would go to the landfill, or at the best, but the recycled, to become upcycled products So imagine one day I wear my suit and it's made of plastic bottles. I'll tell you, okay, well, get a feel of it. And the third one is what the elevation, the burger, or the taking the junk out of junk food. Their meat, the beef, well, is cows that were raised using the natural grass, not grains or the having other ingredients that well would harm us. And the fries were made with olive oil. I haven't got a chance to try that. If I happen to be in the place, there are not too many around. Elevation, the burger, they started in Virginia, but they got the junk of junk food. So after eating it, you feel good, and you feel good because you also have been good to the environment. Principle, these companies represent what the part they stand firm regardless to cost. And Beckett Corporation was on the spotlight, on the radar of media back in probably the mid 90s. And the corporation was not by any standard a big company, but the founder and successor of the company is a family business, but they practice the faith by doing good. Well, certainly it draws attention of ABC, and they wanted to have an interview and then expose the company to millions of people who watch ABC. John, the Wanamaker, a company that well is a restaurant chain, well is a supermarket chain, and they stand firm. And Flow is the automobile dealer, and how they went the second mile because of their beliefs. Last but not least is what that they use their business as a platform to introduce God. So whether it's Letourneau, who they started giving 10% of his money is what the profit, and then 20, 30, and subsequently what that gave it all. And Letourneau University was founded largely because of his generosity. PureFlix. I think you recognize Netflix, but wow, what in the world is PureFlix? It's almost like an alternative to the Netflix, and it's a country boy who had hardly watched a movie in a theater, and then suddenly what went to the Hollywood, and God gave him the fortune, and he started his company and providing entertainment to the Christian homes. And USP is part of their mission statement, and they are intentional in introducing people to God. So in the headquarters, you can see from the highway, the building says what the Christ is the answer. So we have quickly gone through the 8 things that this do differently when they run a business. So interesting enough, they all start with the same letter. What about the good to great? And I'm looking at the clock, and it is 10 after 9. I'm going to quickly go through some of these so that we're not running out of time. And so first of all, it's about level 5 leadership. And so it means what the combination of humility and also will. Having the personal humility, but also professional will. The desire to succeed is the will part. But these leaders do not often draw attention to themselves. In fact, per Jim Collins, they often shy people, and they don't want to stand out. They want to work. They're introverts, many of them. And first, who then what is a matter of bringing the right people on the bus, and the bus would literally drive itself. That means instead of coming up with large strategies, bring the right people to your team. And thirdly is what they're confronting the brutal facts. Don't start your meeting with the good news. Start your meeting with bad news. What are some of the things that are happening around us? Oh, we lost, say, sales in this region, or we had, say, a lawsuit because of what we're doing, and well, confront the brutal facts, but have an unwavering faith that, well, we'll get through it, rather than being too optimistic that, oh, well, in a week or two, things will improve. But face the reality and come up with your strategy to counteract that. The fourth one is the most important one in his whole book, is the hedgehog concept. For a long time, I did not understand what a hedgehog is, and what about hedgehog, and well, it's the comparison between the fox and hedgehog. The two creatures, what the one is so cunning and knows about everything, and the hedgehog knows one thing and he knows it very well. That is to survive. So when the fox tries to trick the hedgehog, well, he always do what he does well. Rolled himself in the ball with spikes, and the fox can do anything. It failed every single time. So the idea of being a hedgehog when running a business is what to stay laser focused. And I've visualized that they talked about that, and the different companies that I believe that would fit that category. So let me spend some time on the hedgehog, and then what maybe we'll open up. The hedgehog concept is represented best with two circles. Number one is what are you deeply passionate about, and secondly is what you can be the best in the world at. The third one is what drives your economic engine. So for these companies, if you go to the center and ask, say, yourself, am I passionate about providing a delicious chicken sandwich to a customer? Yes, check. Two is are you the best in the world doing that? I think what the Truett Cathy would say, yeah, our chicken sandwiches, nuggets are the best, right? And the third one is are we able to generate revenue? Obviously, the sandwiches are more expensive, but people are more than willing to pay the extra to get a delicious meal out of the experience. So this hedgehog concept can actually be transported to our personal lives. I often use it when I speak with my advisees or prospective students. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about sports? Okay, great. Or music or art? Are you able to do you have the skills to apply to make you one of the best? Great. And what about economic engine, jobs out there? So what if you combine, say, your passion and skills and find an area that you can actually further develop your passion and skills. So that is the hedgehog concept in a nutshell. And I better stop here so that we can have some time for either questions or breakout session. Mary, what do you think?
Well, if you want, we could see if there's general questions, and if not, then we can go ahead and go into the breakout session. Do you want to do that?
Sounds good to me. Let me stop sharing so that I can see more people.
And Caleb, could you ask us again those three questions that you had mentioned at the beginning, and let's see if we can get a discussion going on those or any other questions that people might have. I'll be watching the chat.
Sounds good. I'll do that, and I'll go back to the slide at the very beginning. Wow, how about that? Well, the first, one of the questions is what the takeaway, and two is which of these owners have an impact on you, and three is if you're not going to be a business owner, how can you apply some of these principles in your own life to impact the world for Christ? Something along that line, yeah. Mhm.
So we would love to hear your thoughts. Just make sure you unmute yourself.
It would be best to show your video, unless
Yeah.
you are on your PJ.
Hey,
Sorry, I should ask the question. Okay, who is wearing the PJ this morning?
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm
Jim,
not
go
wearing
ahead.
PJs, okay? I'm not wearing PJs, just so you know.
That's all right.
So Caleb, got a question for you. So I was
Yep.
thinking about the hedgehog concept, and the one thing I wonder about as I think about somebody like Elon Musk, and now Elon, of course, as far as I know, is not a believer. But he doesn't have a single hedgehog. He's got like 2 or 3 hedgehogs. And so he found a way like to be diverse, but he formed 3 different companies to do it. So for example, he's got, of course, the Tesla vehicle. He's got his SpaceX, and I think he's got a battery company or a power generating company. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that a good example of how to diverse yourself, like in his case, using the hedgehog concept a little bit differently, or should he like have one big conglomeration and not do hedgehog? I don't know. When you think about Elon Musk, he's kind of like a weird guy when you up against the hedgehog concept.
Yeah, very good question, Jim. And obviously, I'm not an expert in this area, especially with technology. But I think what his very forward thinking. That's what makes him very unique, and his fault, his personality, his drive. They're all going the direction that would make him successful.
Mm.
I'm not sure what the diversifying across 3 areas would make him less of a hedgehog person. If he's into 1,000 different businesses, then I'll say well, you either delegate to someone else, or you just there's no way that you can manage this many businesses. So I think 3 seems to be fine, and he obviously has a lot of people that he can bring to his business to form a team and put them on the bus. And these people also help him with his ideas. And the contrast of, say, having the right on the bus is people first, not the first who, then what. The contrast is I'm the big boss, and I'm going to hire 1,000 people who will be yes men or yes women, just listening to me, and I can tell them what to do, because at the end of the day, is my money. So that's a big contrast. I think what the Elon Musk, he's still is staying true to just a few things.
Okay.
Jim Collins talked about creating a stop doing list, so that we can avoid being too spread out to too many things. And today there's an opportunity that comes to the company, but is it really a good opportunity? You go back to the hedgehog, the 3 circles. Oh no, this is actually going to take us away from being very focused.
Yeah, good.
What are some other questions? Yeah, Al.
That's like Dean Kaufman.
Yeah, Dr. Chan, I wonder if you think these principles can be applied to us as employees. Most of us won't own a large company, but we will almost certainly all be an employee. And in a sense, we are our own business, right? We're responsible for our business. So I wonder how we could apply these principles to our selves as individuals within a company.
Okay. So, well, if Dr. Knight is here, so he would talk about being the entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is what applying the entrepreneurial thinking in accepting that you're not your own boss, but being entrepreneurial allows us to think outside the box. And these principles, if we start off with the questions, own companies, what they do, well, you still have a lot of opportunities. You might be given the opportunity to speak up, and you can be an influence in your company. Well, if say the company is not focusing on triple bottom line, or maybe you can help remind the company, unless this company is totally going the wrong direction and just being the profit driven. But otherwise, let's say you work for Johnson & Johnson, and they've ingrained in their mission statement, the credo, that they are to serve the other constituencies before making about money. The nurses and doctors, patients, and those are the customers and people who they care about. So as an employee, I'm sure that there are places where we can bring those ideas to the table, and we live out our faith. We might not be able to evangelize, but we want to we don't want to hang out the faith in the closet. So going back to the 8 things, I think how we conduct ourselves as an employee can bring some of those results. Now, some of us might eventually rise to the top and be part of the C-suite, being an officer of the company and VPs or even CEOs. And some of the CEOs in Jim Collins' book, they started out as someone who is just an hourly worker, like Kroger. The CEO was one of the clerk members of the team starting out. I'm not sure if I answered your question. Yeah. We just have to be
You did.
intentional.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Well, why don't I tell my students if you ask a question that you don't have to take your final exam, maybe it's too much. You don't have to take the next quiz. How about that? Then suddenly we have a lot of hands. And I see that we have 41 now, and who are part of this session, which is great. And I didn't expect that, and I didn't know what to expect. I shared with Mary about if there are only a handful of people who would just talk to one another, I guess. 46 when we started. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
Dr. Wolber. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Some more questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Justice.
I know Chick-fil-A has said that they will not take their company public at any point, but with some of the companies that you have mentioned that are public, do you know of any pressure they've received from investors to sort of shift their Christian principles to focus on the bottom line more?
It's a very good question. It's a very practical question. In fact, it's something that the owners have to deal with, and on a regular basis. Do we go public so that we can become bigger? And some of these companies will decide that we're not going to go too much bigger than what we are right now, like a Beckett Corporation, and that they were given opportunities to grow. Big contracts will come their way, but they have to give up on some of their values and principles. So that you have to make that decision. And some of the companies that we are seeing, that are no longer private companies that they were founded maybe 100 years ago, and like Guinness Brewing Company and Hershey's and they're not private companies anymore. And as such, very quickly their mission and vision would drift away from what the original founders had in mind. So that is a very good question, and there's something that you need to be considering. And unfortunately, what is not working out to the benefit of, say, these companies staying true to their mission. But at least when you look at the history of these companies, oftentimes you can point back to the days when we held highly these biblical principles that are guiding our company. Yeah.
I was thinking of Tom specifically, if they were receiving pressure at all to give up their giving away a pair of shoes as well when they receive a purchase, if or not.
You have to ask him on the question. Is Bain Capital bought about the 50% of the share? And in that particular case, I would think about they would continue with their model of buy one get one, but they might do things a little bit differently to cut costs and to increase the bottom line. So that might still be different. And to my knowledge, he did not sell 100% of the business, so he still has a strong voice in the company, which oftentimes you can negotiate. But if I go public, I still have enough of a share to make a difference. Very good question, just this. You don't have to take the quiz tomorrow or final. How about in my class? He's not in my class at all.
He's in mine, so we'll work something out.
Okay.
So other questions?
After 10, no more questions. We'll end the session.
I have one.
Okay.
It's a little bit different, but there was a theme with the presentations of several of these companies, and one of those that was you might have to pay a little bit more. You might have to pay a little more for this product. You might have to pay a little bit more for Chick-fil-A or for Tom's. And so, can you motivate us to, as consumers, to pay more for products from companies like this?
Yeah, this is a good question, Mary, and is very practical. And when you don't have lots of resources, then you find ways to make things work. As the young faculty going back almost 30 years ago, wow, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, about that. Well, where can we get the cheapest grocery, right? Until you are exposed to the even issues. Oh, wow. When you shop at the Walmart or the Myers, then you're not supporting the local businesses like Hutch's. Or, well, when you talk about say Christian businesses, I think we have to also be attracted to the product or services. So we're not going to just spend twice as much on a product just because this company is doing good to society and they're a Christian company. We don't want it to become a donation. It's not out of, say, a charity heart. They want to support this business. I'm going to Chick-fil-A and spend maybe $12 on a meal when I can get by when I walk across the street to McDonald's and use my app sometimes I can get by with $2, $3 for a meal. So I think the motivation is looking behind these companies, and also am I able to do it very often? I will not go to Chick-fil-A every single day, even though if there's one across the street. But I would go once in a while. Likewise for the other companies, if I know, they're actually doing good.
Mhm.
Obviously, of all these companies, there's not one exception that they're always controversial situations, and some might have some are valid, some may not be as valid. So we have to be careful. Yeah. And not just with the blindly to support, say, businesses because, oh, it has a cross on the logo.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
showing the last two slides, I'm not going to read it, but just thought maybe this would be a good way to end the session. And the last one is while great companies are not necessarily Christian-owned companies, the latter are always great companies when they're making kingdom impact. So maybe I'll just end with this slide, and maybe also to encourage all of us attend other sessions. And Jim Dawson is one of our adjunct faculty. He's going to be speaking at 1 o'clock, and then there are many other workshops. And Dr. Knight has a very intriguing title, and but also Brian Gono and Professor Fuller, and there's a keynote tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So have I left out anything, Mary? Yeah.
We want to thank you. I want to thank Dr. Chan for doing this workshop, and I do encourage you to go. If you didn't catch the theme of focus, it's liturgy and practice, and we had a good example of that today. And so yes, I encourage you to look at that list, to look at those titles. There's 2 workshops this afternoon that we would love to have you go to. Focus is sponsored by a committee on campus, and that represents the campus and our intents here to integrate faith and learning and living. And it is the committee is Christian Perspectives in the Liberal Arts. And so we encourage you. I hope that you will continue to interact. And I want to again thank Dr. Chan, and I hope that we will all give him a virtual thank you again.
I'll take a virtual bow.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure if any of you want to continue this discussion with him at any point, he would be happy to do that. So thank you. And I do want to formally close this meeting, but if anyone wants to stay on for a few minutes, please feel free to do that. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.